What is up, guys? This is Josh the Gamer here, coming at you with a brand new video. So today we are going to be continuing on our Quorum programming tutorials. Today I'm going to be teaching you about the random class within the Quorum language. Now, pretty much almost every language has a random class built in where it will generate pseudo-random numbers for you, which is pretty cool. However, it's not something that is it's not something that you can use without importing a class. So let's go ahead and do that first. We're going to do use libraries dot compute dot random. Alright, so now that we have that out of the way, we can now start using our random class. Next thing we want to do is we want to create a random object. So just do random, I'm going to call my object rand. And there you go. You now have an object instantiated for the random class. Now you can actually use it. So let's go ahead, and we're actually going to use our knowledge of loops to create a nice little random number generator, just to get the hang of the random class. All right. So let's go ahead and do a repeat. We're going to say, we're going to create an integer variable. Integer, we're going to say counter, I'm going to set it equal to 0, and we're going to do, after the repeat, we're going to do repeat while counter is less than 10. So it's going to go through 10 times, and what do we want to do in here? Well, first of all, we want to actually generate a random number. So we're going to go ahead and do, underneath our counter, we're going to do integer rand number. We're going to initialize it to 0 first to start off with. And then we're going to go ahead and do a rand colon. And then when we do that, we have all kinds of different different actions here. What we want is we want the random integer. However, we can do a random integer which will generate a random number within the range of 0 to positive 2,147,483,646. However, with random integer with a parameter of integer maximum, you can set the maximum number that it will generate. However, in this case, I want it to be in between two different integers. So we are going to do a random integer between. And so right now, we want to put in our arguments. So let's say we want it to be between 10 and 50. So the first argument will be the minimum. The second argument will be the maximum. Now what you want to do is we're going to go ahead and we actually want to do a rand number we're going to set that equal to rand number. That way the integer value that it returns will be assigned to that variable every single time it loops through. So then let's go ahead and output rand number. We're going to go ahead and save it, build it to make sure we don't have any errors, build successful, perfect, run it, and as you can see, since we didn't increment anything, it's going and doing an infinite loop. That is probably one of the biggest programmer's mistakes that I've seen, and see, even I make the mistake, so don't worry about that. We're going to, before the output statement, we're going to do a we're going to do a counter equals counter plus 1. Go ahead and run it again. And it should say build successful. So when we go all the way down here, and we see where it says build successful, as you can see, it generated a good 10 numbers for us to look at. It generated 17, 14, 34, 12, 39, 35, 28, 43, 26, and 31. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, huh? That is just one of the methods you can use within the random class. There are multiple different methods you can use. And I'm actually going to go over those. So we're not actually going to run any of these methods because you've already seen what the random class can do, but I'm going to tell you what some of these different things can do. Now these three methods up here, compare, equals, and get hash code, those are methods that that every class inherits from the root object class. The object class is pretty much the root of all of the Quorum class hierarchy. You'll learn more about the class hierarchy and classes in a later tutorial. Yeah. Okay, so now random Boolean returns a Boolean. It'll randomly return true or false because a Boolean value is only true or false. A random integer, which I've already explained to you, it'll return a random integer between 0 and over 2 billion. Random integer maximum we have random integer with a parameter of a maximum integer that it can return. Random integer between, which is what we just used, with a minimum, where it takes a minimum and a maximum value. Random list of integers. What this pretty much will do, it will return a list of integers. As you see, it'll return a list object, and you have to specify the length of the list as a parameter. Now, random list of numbers does the same thing, however, it returns a list object filled with number variables, or numbers instead of integers. Now, random number will return a random number between 0 and 1. Now the set seed method, what this will do is it'll pretty much set a seed that is used to generate the random numbers. Now, of course, when you instantiate a random object, you do not need to call set seed if you don't want to, because it's already set by default to the current system time in milliseconds. So, they've already set that for you, and that's really awesome. So yeah, guys, that'll pretty much do it for this tutorial on the random class. You guys can do some pretty cool stuff with this, I think. And we will see you all in the next tutorial.